Okay, there we go. So, Hannah, let's just jump into it.
Hey, yeah, no
It's
introductions.
what has brought you to this path in your life? You're creating a lot of stuff. You're in the film. You're in the YouTube world as well. Like maybe you can share your story.
Whoa, what has brought me here? Wow. I think just saying yes, like it's been very actually even now, especially starting 2020, like 2022, I'm like, gosh, all of the things I'm in right now have been opportunities like handed to me. But I feel like if I wasn't prepared for opportunities to be handed to me, then I wouldn't have been able to be where I am right now. So I guess it's the silent preparation. Like people kind of see what I do and only the exported version, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious about
But
that
there's
term silent preparation. What does maybe you can like what does that mean to you? What
yeah,
does
I
it
think there's just so
entail?
much back end, like a lot of people, well, kind of my image or reputation is like, the encouraging, inspirational kind of trope. But then like you have to be inspired first. You have to be happy first, encouraging first to be able to give that to other people, right? And that takes so much inner work that I don't think people recognize or see. So especially like during the pandemic, like just being at home, like you really have to face the realities of like, oh wait, like can I be encouraged first before I encourage other people? And that takes so much work. So I think that's
A
what
lot. That
I
takes
would
a lot.
consider it to be.
And maybe you can share like what are the things that you specifically had to do or had to change to get to that point? Because that's the thing. People think that like transformation is natural, but it actually takes a lot of effort, like a lot of effort. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, like what habits have you developed lately that keeps you in that space where you can give?
Yeah, actually that's a great term. The giving, right? So one of my mentors told me that like any bank account where you only withdraw from, it will end up becoming bankrupt. And like this is what my mentor told me when I was like, why am I so tired? Why is it like the things that I do I'm not passionate about anymore? And she asked me like, when's the last time you actually deposited? And I was like, oh, whoa. So I think that I had to ask myself, what are the things that actually fill me up to the core, not the ones that make me excited for like a day or something like that, but those that really fuel me. And for me, that's really like being in tune with my mind, body, and spirit. Like when those three things are like aligned, whether that's through exercise or changing my diet up or really trying hard to work on my sleep. It's really hard because
Hard, that's hard.
I'm a night owl, so
No, I feel you. I feel you. But those are
yeah, like
huge. Those are huge. Those things you
yeah,
just
but
mentioned.
they seem like so simple, right? And so like elementary, but they're actually like the foundation of every other good thing that's going to come into my life. So I'm really working hard on those things. And the thing is like I'm kind of like an all go at it person.
Yeah, yeah.
And like trying like last year was kind of like I burnt out last year basically. So I really was like, oh wow, like I can't actually sustain this energy and all these things. So I tried to change like a million different habits in one go, and that's not how it goes pala.
That's tough. That's tough. I think it's doable, but then it's a mountain to climb, diba? And I
I
mean,
know.
that's it's like another wave of burnout. And
Yeah.
how do you define burnout for you? Like, and what are the things you were doing that you think looking back caused the burnout?
Yeah, I think what caused the burnout was I feel like number one was thinking I had to do everything by myself and not really asking for help because I was always kind of used to being the person who was like put together or got it, I
Yeah.
got it, like you don't
Mhm.
have to ask me if I'm okay or stuff. I'm okay. But then I was like, oh, like I'm actually not as sturdy or as secure as I thought I was because
Yeah.
everything that just like crumbled like in the past few years for all of us.
Yeah.
So burnout for me really looked like just not loving what I was doing anymore.
Mm.
Just like doing it for the sake of it, getting the like checking off things from my list, but not really putting the time and effort into it. And I think it was denying the present moment.
Yeah,
I was always like, what's next? What's next? What's
yeah,
next? Or I was always like, oh, that would like looking at the past and saying, look how much better that was.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I was always in these two untouchable realities and so unhappy in the present ones. So I think that's what, for me, my experience of burnout was.
That's pretty. That's thanks for sharing that. I think that I resonate with that a lot. Like the present moment, I feel like we're all wired to like seek reward and look forward uh but then I feel like even in yoga and meditation you have all these practices to be in the present moment, but it's hard. You got to work on it. It's
Yeah.
so hard to get. But I feel like so I was in Siargao when the typhoon hit, and
Oh,
it
so
was
sorry.
probably one of those moments where I thought I was gonna die, and all I could be was in the moment. And after that, it's
Mm.
like it didn't last for a long time, but maybe for a week, I was just in the moment because I realized
Yeah.
like it's not up to us. I'm not trying to go dark here, but like the reality is no one's getting out of this planet alive, right? I mean, we all have these
Yeah.
lifespans, but and then I think it magnifies what you value, what you want to
Mm.
invest your energy in, and
Yeah.
it gets really murky, especially when you're trying to be an adult, right? Paying the bills, trying to like do the responsible thing and have that
Yeah.
existential dread, thinking that, oh man, like, am I living the life I want? Am I living a
Yeah.
life of purpose? But sometimes, and I'm sure you feel this way too with the pandemic, like, this is what we have, and you kind of need to make the
Mm.
most of it. It sucks, but it's there, and you just kind of need to like go through it. And I'm curious how you, like, where do you get that fuel? I mean, we talked about burnout, and then now the
Mhm.
fuel that you get to keep creating, because I mean, I'm still in the production industry, and I know that
Yeah.
what you do is hard. Like it's like those are different skills put together, and there's no shortcuts for that. You gotta like jump through each step. So I'm curious, like, how do you maintain that creative flow, that inspiration, and that grit as well?
Yeah, actually, I wonder how do I do it? um I think what do I think? I think that everything that I do, all the creative work that I do, whenever I begin, whenever I start something, I always have a really strong purpose. Like it's not to make something aesthetic, it's
Mhm.
not to get views, it's not to get likes. Like I always have an underlying goal that if I didn't have that underlying goal that was strong enough for me to even begin in the first place, I wouldn't do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I guess being selective with the projects that I do is something that has allowed me to preserve my passion for what I do. And also, when you're in an industry where you can say yes to a lot of branded
Mm.
content and stuff that are so not aligned with what you do,
Yeah.
it's very easy to be like swaying the other way. But like, I just really had to make that decision. Like, it's really not worth it to like earn an X amount of money, but to like to get to sleep and think, oh, I accomplished nothing today.
Yeah.
Like I was at a point where I was already spending my own personal currency
Yeah.
because for what? For success, for you know. Um so I think yeah, that's really I think what has been able to preserve my creativity. It's having a true value for the things that I
Yeah.
make and working with people who share in that passion and that value. Like I'm so excited when I work with fellow creatives and like when we get a flow going, when we're sharing and brainstorming and we're like, oh my God, this idea and that idea. Like it just gets me going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
if
for
you're
sure.
working with people who are just like, just I don't care, just get it done. Like
Yeah.
who will
No,
be
that
encouraged by
kills the
that?
vibe, and it's contagious. Like you gotta feed off people. And I'm really
Yeah.
curious, like, like where it seems like, I guess, growing up, these values, these ideas were really infused in you to pursue
Yeah.
things with purpose, to pursue things with passion, to find that the inner work is necessary. Because, like, I won't lie, with me, I had that upbringing, but I had to find it again. as an adult.
Yes. There's
And I think
there's like
it
a
comes in waves, right?
yeah.
What were you saying, Hannah? Sorry. You
No,
got
go ahead. I was just saying that. I was agreeing with you.
no, so yeah, and I was just thinking, like, how do you um connect that, that fire and that purpose to like your upbringing with the family, then? Like, I feel like it seems like you're close to your siblings, to your parents, and they seem to be, I mean, the way you talk, it really sounds that I'm sure everyone around you are sort of in the same frequency as well, right?
Yeah. But yeah. Well, I think I have really drawn from the support that my family has given me. I was really surprised, actually. I'm even surprised to this day. I think every moment I'm surprised that what I'm doing is what I'm doing. Like, I never really thought I would get into like a creative field or something like that. I don't know what I thought. I didn't know what I was good at when I was young. Um so like to find myself here, I'm like really blessed and excited. But my family has been the most supportive people in my journey. Like, um my parents, just my dad and my mom both came out with like a new two new shows in Signal, like TV shows, and they allowed me to be creative director for that, which was like
It's-
such a huge thing. And like for them to just basically say like, oh yeah, we're like placing this mantle on you and trusting you that you could do this. I'm like, I've never produced like, or you know what I mean, been in
yeah,
a
yeah,
set like
yeah.
this in my life. Or like my older brother, who is well in the industry, like really butters me up to people, and he's like, oh, this my sister's like the best and everything and stuff. So I guess it's a mixture of the trust that people put around, like people put around me, and also like this bar that's like there for some reason. Like people have this expectation of me or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? I'll
Yeah,
I'll I'll match it or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, so I guess that's definitely, it comes from that. But my parents have always instilled in me like that it doesn't really matter what you're doing, but it's the way that you do it. And I feel like if I didn't have that mindset, then I wouldn't be happy doing what I'm doing right now.
I
And I
think a lot
see
of
them
people,
being,
yeah.
yeah, and I see them being happy with what they're doing, and I'm like, I want that. So I'm
Yeah,
working
happiness is
towards
in
it.
the doing, right? It's not in the
Yes, that's
pursuit. It's in
true.
the pursuit. But I feel like, a lot of people, and I have a lot of conversations with like relatives and friends who, like, and there's nothing wrong with it, naman, eh. They're working corporate jobs. But then
Yeah,
when I ask them, what do you want to do? Like, I mean, let's say you didn't have to work. Let's say you could just pick whatever you wanted. Like, they would say, I don't know, like maybe have some time to do a simple job, like maybe work in like a cafe, or then maybe I'll just, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of fear as well when it comes to pursuing what you want, especially when you know that you're gonna like there's no security blanket. You
yeah,
could just fall, and there's gonna be a consequence. But like, if you were to tell your younger self, when you didn't know what you wanted to do, like, what would you give your younger self? What's the advice you're gonna give your younger self? Like, in terms of like picking the things that excite you now, right? Because, I mean, did someone tell you choose your highest excitement, or just say, find something that you love?
that's a really good question. Yeah, I would tell my younger self to just do nothing, like just enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
just live your life. Like my job per se only became a job like when I was already pursuing it. Did it become a job, if that makes sense?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
was there when the term vlogger or influencer or content creator was a thing,
yeah.
like in the middle of it. So it wasn't necessarily like I was seeking after it, but it just literally like came, and I was like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing now. Like you guys are paying me to make a video. Like what is this? Um and I realized that like in a lot of the work that I do, like I draw from my like childhood and nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like I love the look of film. I love the look of like grainy videos, and I draw a lot weirdly of my inspiration from cartoons that I watched as a child. because they
Amazing.
remind me of a specific time where everything was like fun and free and you didn't have to think about anything.
Those were the
So I
days.
wouldn't tell.
Those were
Yeah,
the
I
days.
just tell my kid to just, just younger self, just do whatever you want. Like you'll get there
Oh, you
eventually.
will, you will. That's the truth. And I think that's the thing. Like it still feels like you're playing, right? Because you're
Yeah.
creating stuff. It's just that you're in the real world, whatever that, what people call it. But like it's how do you manage fear though? When you're trying new things, when you're trying a new treatment, like what's your process when facing fear?
My thing is like to be intimidated by something and to fear something are two completely different things. And I think that we have the power to decide whether we're going to allow fear to overcome us or to help us. And I've realized that the things that I do fear, if I look at it as, oh, I'm really scared to do that, I won't do it. But
Yeah.
if I look at fear in the from the angle that like, ooh, that's something I've never tried before,
Yeah.
what's on the other side of that, then it's actually working to my advantage. Um and what I try to do is to translate that fear into something positive is I don't give myself a reason to second guess or be worried or be anxious. So let's say I'm worried about a shoot that I have tomorrow that I really have to prepare for. I'll prepare for it. And
Yeah.
I'll do everything that I can possibly do to be prepared for it. And if I still don't do well, did I fail? If I did everything I could to prepare for it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
that's
a
kind of what I
mindset.
do. Yeah, it's the mindset. Like there's this book called The Old Man and the Sea. I don't know if you ever heard
Hmm.
it. Ernest
Yeah. Yeah.
Hemingway.
Yeah.
And there he comes home with like just the skeleton of the huge fish that he supposedly tried to catch, right? But it got eaten by sharks. And he feels like, and like people are looking at him, they're like, oh, like he failed. But actually he tried everything he could to save the fish. He like had scratches on his hand when he was pulling it into his boat. Like he did everything he could to get it. And that's why I feel like he came home as a winner,
Yeah.
not because he got the big fish, but because he worked his hardest. So that's the way I look at it. And it
Yeah. Yeah.
helps minimize the disappointment or the scariness of it.
No, I like that. I think that there's a lot of resilience in that and grit, and I feel like it seems very clear to you what you're fighting for, what you're creating for, and uh, I guess like maybe you can share uh, what's like one life altering moment that shaped who you are now. I know it's top of your head doesn't need to be too deep, but like that, because sometimes it can be as simple as like, like seeing, I don't know, like a rainbow, like, and you're just so happy. But like, it doesn't need to be like a super deep, intense moment, but just one of those. Sometimes you have those simple moments, where it's just
Yeah.
really like, wow, that's powerful.
I think a life altering moment would probably be when I went to Australia a few years ago to study. It was like Bible school and film mixed in
Okay.
one. And it was kind of like me pursuing two of the things that I wanted to learn more about, which was my spirituality and film. And we had a showcase for our first ever documentaries that we made. And I made a documentary on one of these girls from my school that I was really intimidated by. I said I was super intimidated by her. She had great fashion sense. She was an artist. She was a film photographer as well. Like I really looked up to her and I just jumped out of the boat and I said, "Hey, can I do a documentary on you? I feel like you're so interesting." And she allowed me to do that. And I loved that was the first time I ever was in a documentary setting. I edited it, I did an interview and everything, and I fell in love with the whole process. If you're in that showcase and it was shown to like a lot of people in our school, and I didn't care about what anybody else had to say about it. When it finished, I was like, I'm so happy because I gained a friend. That's
Yeah.
that's it. And then I was like, maybe this is what I want to do. Like maybe I want to do this again. And from then on, I've been in love with documentaries ever since. And I, yeah, that was definitely a life altering moment.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Hannah. And I really resonate with what you said about the you developing a friendship, like the
Yeah.
connection. Because like I feel like with the documentaries, I have produced before, yeah, like we spend like months with Erwan or with JP, and these were strangers in the beginning but became friends because you're spending so much time together. You're seeing each other in very stressful situations or even in
Yeah.
really beautiful moments, diba? But and it's then when the shoot's over, it's you realize, wow, that was a special time. That wasn't it. I get you. It doesn't matter if they like it or not or whatever how it looks. It's more like I still watch documentaries from 5 years ago just to kind of remember. Wow, that was such a fun time. And
Yeah, like the
you never go
moments, like
back to that,
the
diba? And it's
behind the
so
scenes are
special.
so fun,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
just watching like how beautiful the frame looks, but how janky the setup was, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just seeing like people see like what that documentary I made was like 5 minutes, but the whole shoot was like an hour and a half because you have to like get the person comfortable and
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
them and get what you need and stuff. And I just love the bonding that people have like in that process. And that was the first time that I was like, wow, like that maybe I can do this, for
Yeah. No,
like for
that's
real.
amazing. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. That because those are magical experiences. Like you can't really, it just kind of finds you. Like
Hmm.
I've been rereading Big Magic by Liz Gilbert.
Ooh, I have to read it. I have the
Well, you gotta
book.
read
I have
that. That's it's just so powerful. Even as like I think it's the second time I'm reading it, and basically like there's this thing about like what I love about what she wrote is there's a part that says ideas are alive wherein they
Mhm.
jump from one person to another, like even if and they're gonna just keep jumping and jumping at you to somebody else, and it's up to you if you want to catch it and turn it into
Mm.
something. But like that's why your idea, like if you don't act on it, if you don't create from it,
Yes.
somebody's gonna do it, maybe in a different way. They're not stealing it. It's more like it just jumped. And I love that because like there's that
Oh.
infinite well of ideas, but at the same time, it's just constantly moving. Like people are creating stuff that you thought of, but maybe you guys thought of at the same time, and it's just like, it's just it sounds like sorcery. It sounds like magic, but it's pretty cool. I love that. I love
Yeah.
it makes you feel like, oh, life just isn't this, like pay the bills and die. It's actually to like create and for you, I mean, like create for you, not for an audience, because the audience will
Mhm.
appreciate the what you're doing, diba? Like you just
If
doing
you
you.
appreciate what you're doing, the audience will,
Exactly.
diba? Yeah.
Exactly. Diba? They can feel that because it's
Yes.
energy you're in, right?
I
It's a
agree.
vibe. It's not just, oh, I'm just watching this. You're affecting someone. And I think that's you got to read the book. I mean, it's such a fast read.
Okay.
Uh like it's just hearing your story, I feel like it's gonna even inspire you more. But yeah, no, thanks so much, Hannah. Like I love picking your brain, and it's so cool
Mhm.
to see how you process things and how you approach things. I think it's really inspiring. And yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.